Good day everyone, I'm JSLC Apat from Bachelor of Science in Criminology Block 1.1. In this presentation, we decided as a group to choose an intervention in the homicide case under the law enforcement pillar. First is let's introduce the homicide and the law enforcement rule. Homicide refers to the unlawful killing of one person by another, but not premeditated as in murder. In the Philippines, homicide is a serious crime that demands prompt investigation and intervention from law enforcement. The Philippine National Police or the PNP is the main agency responsible for investigating homicides, ensuring that justice is served and that the rule of law is upheld. Law enforcement role is in homicide cases involves responding to the crime scene, investigating the cause of death, identifying suspect, and ensuring the perpetrators face legal consequences. So pag sinabi natin homicide, from the word not premeditated, hindi siya intentional na pinatay. Hindi kagaya sa murder na pinag-isipan talaga yung pagpatay nila, may plano talaga siya. So pag sinabi naman natin law enforcement personnel, sila yung e-ensure na mahuli yung suspect. Sila yung first respondent natin sa crime scene. Sila din yung nag-i-investigate sa lahat ng sa buong pangyayari doon sa lugar.
Law enforcement intervention in homicide cases. Initial response. Upon receiving a report of a homicide, PNP officers are dispatched to secure the crime scene. Securing the scene is crucial to preserving evidence such as blood samples, weapon, and any signs of struggle. The crime scene is also documented with photograph, sketches, and notes for further investigation. Investigation process. Law enforcement officers, including crime scene investigators and forensics experts, examine the scene for physical evidence. In the Philippines, SOCO unit plays a key role in collecting evidence such as fingerprint, DNA, and other trace evidence. Witness interviews. Law enforcement conducts interviews with witnesses, family member, and anyone who may have information about the crime. This information can provide vital leads to identify potential suspects. Forensic expertise. The Philippine National Police Forensic Group often work alongside medical examiners to perform autopsies, determine the cause of death, and identify any possible links between the victims and the perpetrators. This helps law enforcement to understand the circumstances of the homicide and whether the crime was premeditated or the result of a spontaneous act. Arrest and prosecution. Once law enforcement has gathered sufficient evidence, they can identify and arrest the suspects. In the case of a homicide, suspects are detained and charged with the appropriate crime, which could be homicide or murder depending on the circumstances. Law enforcement coordinate with prosecutors to ensure that the case moves forward in the judicial system. The evidence collected from the investigation is presented during the trial, with law enforcement officer testifying to the validity of the findings.
Challenges in law enforcement intervention in homicide. Unsolved homicide cold cases. Many homicide cases in the Philippines remain unsolved due to lack of evidence, witness cooperation, or because the perpetrator fled the area. Cold cases are significant challenge, especially in rural areas where resources are limited. Forensic expertise is not always available. Witness intimidation and peer retribution in certain cases, particularly in rural or conflict-prone areas. Witnesses may fear or retaliation from perpetrators or criminal groups. This fear often leads to reluctance in providing testimony, making it harder for law enforcement to solve cases. Political influence and corruption. In some instances, law enforcement in the Philippines faces challenges due to political interference or corruption. These factors can hinder the impartiality and effectiveness of investigation, especially in high-profile cases where influential individuals or groups are involved.
technological advancement in homicide investigations, forensic science, and DNA analysis. In recent years, the PNP has adopted more advanced forensic techniques to solve homicide cases, including the DNA analysis and ballistic testing. This has improved the accuracy and efficiency of investigations. The PNP also utilized national databases such as the Automated Fingerprint Identification System to compare fingerprints and identify suspect more quickly. Digital surveillance and mobile data. With the rise of technology, mobile phones, CCTV footage, and social media have become valuable sources of evidence. Law enforcement in the Philippines is increasingly relying on digital forensics, such as retrieving data from phones, social media, and surveillance camera to track suspects and solve homicides. A notable example of technology aiding homicide investigations in the Philippines is the use of mobile phone data in tracking the movements of suspect in the killing of a high-profile personality or in the investigation of a series of killings in a specific area.
Prevention and proactive measure. Community policing. Community policing is a strategy employed by the PNP to prevent violent crimes, including homicide. In this model, law enforcement often engage directly with the community, build trust, prevent conflicts, and that include escalate the violence. This program aimed to reducing gang violence, domestic abuse, and substance abuse. Are also part of protective efforts to reduce homicide, crime mapping, hotspot policing. This PNP utilized crime mapping technology and identity areas high homicide rates, allowing them to allocate resources and more effectively by focusing this hotspot. They can also prevent violent crimes before they occur, conflict mediation, and domestic violence prevention. Law enforcement are also intervenes to conflict resolution, especially the domestic violence cases, which is often escalate to homicide programs and aim domestic violence prevention as such, counseling, legal support, and temporarily protecting for victims help mitigate the risk lethal violence.
Law enforcement in the Philippines plays a critical role in the investigation and intervention of homicide cases. Through proper crime scene investigation, the use of forensic science, witness interview, and technology, the PNP work to bring perpetrators to justice. Despite challenges such as unsolved cases, witness intimidation, and corruption, advancement in technology and proactive policy strategies are helping improve the effectiveness and homicide investigation. To continue improving, law enforcement must focus on strengthening their relationship with the community, adopting more advanced technology, and maintaining transparency and accountability in the investigation process.